Here we go, the 31st and 32nd countries, Singapore and Mongolia. So from Kuala Lumpur, I just took the bus to enter Singapore for my very first time, back to 2014 during my Southeast Asia hitchhiking trip. So that's the final stop. And before I entered Singapore, I didn't know that chewing gum is forbidden in that country. But I met a Malaysian lady, she told me. And after that, she borrowed my phone to allow me to call my couchsurfing host from Singapore. My host hosted me. It's a local family. They are a Muslim family, very hospitality, and my host is very nice person. Offered his own room to me and himself sleep on the living room on the floor. And he offered me a ride with his bike. And in a modern city in Singapore, I feel it's very nice. And then we tried some local food. We watched a movie. Ate the ice cream and so on, and then they told me to remember that I will always have a home in Singapore, which was really sweet. And after that, in the same year I went to Singapore again with my family. It's just a family trip. So the next time when I visited Singapore again, I would like to see more things about the nature. I mean, even it's not big, but still there's some nature area in this small piece of land. So that's what I'm looking forward. After the first Southeast Asia hitchhiking trip, I worked a little bit in Hong Kong, but I was thinking to hitchhike, outside of Asia. So, and then I just planned a roughly road like from, there are so many neighbor countries who share the road border with China. So I was thinking to throw Mongolia, Central Asia, and to Eastern Europe and all the way to Turkey. So in 2014, in September, I started this journey, another hitchhiking trip. So I took a train from China to the border of Mongolia, and then so all together with the trains in China and the trains from the border town to Zemyut in Mongolia. I was on the train for like 4 days, different trains, and it just cost like $4 from Zemyut to Ulaanbaatar by the train. And that was my very first time to try the train for the previous Soviet Union style. No, not the first time. I mean, before I was in Russia and so on. And on board they offer you milk tea. But normally in Hong Kong, milk tea is sweet, and in Mongolia it's salted. So the very first time when I drank it, I was like surprised. And then on the overnight train, I just spent the time with the local people, even they don't speak any English, but we played the cards. They showed me their way, I showed them the Chinese way. And then the stars, I couldn't forget the stars through the sky, through the train window. That was just so glamoury, yeah. And then in the early morning, I arrived. One local guy on the train just accompanied to me to try to contact my couchsurfing host. My host in Ulaanbaatar is a South Korean guy. And I was his very first guest, and he was doing volunteer in Ulaanbaatar. And he told me it's very funny. Every time, sometimes he see the local Mongolian they always chasing him, try to challenge him for a fight. But my host is not into fighting, and so he always run away. And he's a very, very kind person. And then I still remember, before I was thinking, Mongolia, the fresh air and the nature. But actually in Ulaanbaatar, the capital, the air pollution was serious. If you go out without wearing a mask, when you return back home, it's so dirty. You Yeah, that's out of my expectation. And originally I planned to hitchhike in Mongolia, but there's really less people and less vehicle in a wide country like in Mongolia. So I just decided to take a bus. I decided to, after visiting Mongolia, I return back to China, from China through the road border to other country, instead of hitchhiking around in Mongolia. So after spent some days in Ulaanbaatar, I took a bus from Ulaanbaatar to Hoft, the west part of Mongolia. It was really funny because due to the language barrier, none of the salesperson in the ticket office for the bus understand English. So I have to draw then a photo like the bus, the transport. It was really funny. And the bus was overnight. I couldn't remember. I think it's like 2 nights or something. Yeah, and then I was the only traveler on board. And I still remember one night I was on my period, and then sometimes they just stop for the toilet, but in Mongolia there's no public toilets. What you will find is just on the two sides of the road there's like some holes, and then people just do their things. And especially for ladies, they needed like the big coat of the Mongolian style coat to cover them while they are doing their thing, but I don't have that one. So and the local ladies, sometimes they borrow me theirs. And then I met a little girl who was traveling with her mom, and the little girl was so adorable. Every time she just keeps talking in local language with me, but which I understand nothing. And she's just so adorable. And I was like super on a tiny budget, and then every time when we stop for food, I was just eating instant noodles. So the other locals might think I like the local food doesn't suit my taste. Actually, no, I was just control my budget. And after we finally arrived Hoft, it's just getting dark, very late. It's like midnight or something. And then I still remember there's a drunk person during the night bus journey. He speak a little bit few Chinese. He used to work in China, and on board he was just sat next to me and tried to bother me. I feel just so annoyed, but he couldn't do anything, right? There's a full of people on bus, and despite they just ignore me, but still I was not there alone. And then when we arrived, I don't know, it's so late, and so I didn't plan for my accommodation. And then so the two drivers were talking about what should they do. So and then I just followed two of them, and they went to one driver's home. One driver is a local in Hoft, so there is a girt. And then the driver lives with his wife and 3 little daughters, and they slept on the right hand side after you enter the gate. And another driver slept on the left hand side, so I just slept on the left hand side's floor. So the next morning when I tried to thank the driver, and one of the driver, the one who slept on the left, just hold my hands and don't let my hands go. And after I found out he's just someone who is expecting something, so I noticed that I will never enter the gate without other people there if he is in the gate. And then I was lucky, the neighbors noticed a Chinese girl came here, and there's a former soldier, female soldier, Mongolian soldier. And she noticed that I'm traveling in this way, and she noticed that I need to go to the border to cross back to China, and she assisted me. And while waiting for my transport, she introduced me to her brother and sister-in-law, and they invited me for lunch, and they cooked me like the lamb meat with carrot and potato. It was just so yummy. They were asking me, do I eat lamb? Usually I don't eat, but after 1 week of instant noodles, lamb is so delicious. And after that, they just see me off, try to talk to the driver who takes me to take care of me. So when we arrived at the border,